before.
Okay. Yeah, no. We want to forget about this stuff before. Okay. All right. So you said about half of the people have used Lexia?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, good. So then you have some experts in the room. That's perfect. So we're going to take a look at these three components, the student program, for sure. And that's going to be really exciting today because the student program version 2 was just released on Sunday. So we're going to actually get a chance to, so if you've used Lexia, you're going to see version 2 of the Core 5 program. And we'll look at the My Lexia data. And again, if you've used Lexia before and you haven't been into My Lexia for a while, My Lexia was updated in August. And so that has just a little different look and feel and some new resources in My Lexia as well. And we'll look at the targeted resources for teacher-led instruction, the Lexia lessons, and the Lexia skill builders. So anything in particular, Julie, you want to be sure that we talk about?
The initial what the kids are actually doing, and especially looking at reports, how to read them, analyze them.
Okay, great. All right, so let's, so we have until 10 o'clock Pacific time, right?
Right.
Okay. And what you have here are certificates. So if you've used Lexia before, we still have certificates to celebrate students' accomplishment as they move from level to level. They've been updated. They were updated in August, and so you'll see a really nice. Some of the changes in the certificates is we've added a little more detail about the kind of skill that the student has mastered so that it would make sense to a parent, it would be more meaningful, and as well as we've added to the certificate some things that the students can do and the parents can do together at home. So that's a nice thing that we've added. On page 2 of your teacher training guide is the scope and sequence for Core 5, and that has not changed. And so when you look at Core 5, you're going to still see these same 6 skills that we're addressing. In version 2, we've added, we've changed some of the activities in the student program. So we have some new content, a little bit new content there, but basically the same basic reading skills are addressed. And you can see how they're addressed in as the students move through the 18 levels of Lexia. You can see how where those different reading skills are hit as they move from level to level. For those of you who have used Core 5 before, you know that there are certain levels within Lexia that are addressed in each grade level. So the goal with Lexia is we say that we want students to reach their benchmark for the year. And so if I'm a first grader, the benchmark is to get through the end of first grade within Lexia. So what level would that be?
9.
Mm-hmm. Right. So level 9, and so when the Lexia targets or suggests a certain target number of minutes each week, it's with that goal in mind. So if I am a first grader and I'm placed somewhere up, maybe I'm placed in level 4 or I'm placed in level 7, my target then is going to be different because I've got a longer way to go to get to that benchmark if I'm starting in level 4 versus if I'm starting in level 7. Because when the students first start using Lexia, they experience an auto placement test. So the first time they log in, they are given some word recognition and comprehension questions that at the start of their grade level. So if I'm a first grader again, in that auto placement test, I'm going to experience word recognition and comprehension questions at level 6, and then the test will either level me up or down depending on how I respond. So that test is obviously going to take a little bit longer if I'm placed further away from that beginning point.
Okay.
So think about, the fact that the first time the student logs in, that's what they experience, an auto placement test. It places them in a specific level. And so when they log in after that, that's where they start, at the level that they were placed. That test obviously will vary in length. It could be as long as 20 minutes or as short as a couple of minutes. There's no feedback, obviously, during that placement exercise. And then there is an apple on the lower left of the screen that will turn blue when the students are in that placement test. And then you do have a report that's available to you in My Lexia that will show you where your students have been placed. So it'll tell you the date the placement test was completed, the number of minutes, the word recognition comprehension results, as well as for the level that they were placed at. So does that make sense so far?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So in your handout on the bottom of page 5 is a description of this 3-step instructional branching, and it's good to know kind of what's happening in the software. So when your students start to work online, they will, like I said, they'll start at the level that they were placed. They'll select a specific reading area, and then they will go into a unit. And when they're in a unit, when they first start, they'll be at the standard step. So they're working independently through a series of activities. And if they're able to demonstrate 90 to 100% mastery, they move on. And they will go to the next unit, and so on. And so once they've completed units and reading areas within Lexia, they'll be eligible for skill builders, which are paper and pencil activities that help reinforce those concepts they've mastered in the software. So that's kind of a nice additional element that Lexia offers. But going back to the software, if they aren't able to demonstrate mastery at 90 to 100%, the software will assist them by moving them to guided practice, provide some scaffolded support, some more practice, and then potentially either move them back to standard so that they can demonstrate mastery and move on, or potentially move them down to direct instruction, that 3rd step. So if they're struggling in guided practice, then the software will move them to the 3rd step, which is direct instruction, where they get explicit teaching, even more focused on that area that they're struggling with, some more practice. Then we'll move them back to the standard step, hoping that practice and teaching will help them be able to master that concept and move on. If not, they'll have an opportunity to get some more guided practice and maybe even some more direct instruction. So that's kind of how the software works with the student. The software will continue to work with them in that manner. But if they do find themselves in direct instruction more than once, that's when the software will notify you that they're struggling and that they need your help. And so that's when they'll show up in your My Lexia site under that plan instruction list. And then Lexia will also send you an email message. The default is semi-monthly, and you can adjust that in your My Profile to get that message sent to you more often.
Okay, sorry, we have announcements right now.
That's okay.
Our life skill of the month is respect. Please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we observe 30 seconds of silence.
Should I go on?
They're going to talk a couple more minutes, maybe one
Okay.
more.
Okay.
Good morning, Eagles, and happy middle of the week. Hope you all had a fabulous evening last night, did some reading. Here are the principles. Respect is shown to things and places as well as people. You know respect for the American flag by keeping it clean, not letting it touch the ground, and honoring it and what it represents. Respecting and caring for the playground equipment protects it from damage. By recycling, conserving energy, and caring for nature, you are respecting the environment. Be respectful to people, places, and things. Remember, this Friday, because we are in the week of respect, Spirit Day is all blue, wearing blue to school on Friday. That is our Spirit Day. I have a group of classes that have made their 50 Eagle Bucks. We have wonderful classes continuing to do what they need to do. We have Miss Maisie's class, Miss Limbrick's class, Miss Vidrios' class, Miss Pasika's class, Miss Maisie's class, and Miss Toppelmeyer's class. Congratulations. Keep up the hard work and keep earning those Eagle Bucks. Teachers, just a reminder, as you do earn those Eagle Buck rewards, you are to be turning them in to Mr. Ryan so that we can recycle. And it is a continuous. So if you're at 50, you count up from 50. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
Great. All right. All right. Great. Okay. So that's the instructional model in the software. And so when the students is struggling, or if they do end up in that direct instruction area, like I said twice in the software, that's when you will be notified. And then there are Lexia lessons or scripted lessons that are available for you to use if you'd like, and some resources to work with the student. So let's kind of take a peek at what I'd like you to see now is, what I'd like you to do is to get into the software, but I want to just give you a little advanced organizer before you get in. So we're going to talk about Core 5 Online. And like I said, on Sunday is when the version 2 was released. And so for those of you who are used Core 5 before, you'll see a couple changes. And one of them is this educator mode in the student program that you'll have access to. We always could choose whichever level that we wanted to experiment with, which is great. But now what you can do is once you choose a level, it will show you, it will tell you like what activities you'll find in that level, what reading strands are addressed, the skills. It'll even tell you what the warm-up activity is. But I think one of the cool things that you can do is also choose the exact unit that you want to experiment with. So you'll see that when you get into that student program. One of the other things that is new with version 2 is this warm-up selection screen. And the new version, the students have the ability to choose from 2 different warm-up activities. And the whole idea of the warm-up is just a very short activity that reinforces concepts from a previous level. So we've made it a little more game-like so that we're encouraging students to beat their best score. But there's a method to that madness, and that is that we want to also encourage speed of processing. So, the kind of that, try to more quickly react and work with those concepts is what you'll see in this warm-up. So the activity selection screen, and this is described on pages 4 and 5 in your handout as well. The activity selection screen has changed just a little bit. We have these, the reading areas are still what you see that are, this is an example of a level 15 activity selection screen. So these are the 5 reading areas that are addressed. The same pacing exists where the units in each of those 5 areas are available to the students. The first half are available. They need to work across the first half of all of the units in this level before the second half opens up. So in this example, this button is colored in, and that's signifying that the student is working in the first half. And then as they complete units, they will fill in with color. And so the student can easily see how many more they have left to do. And then we've made these little characters actually clickable, and there'll be some fun facts about either the flora or the fauna, the animals or whatever that in that theme that the level represents. So that's kind of a fun thing that we've added as well. So you're going to just select one of those activity selection, one of those reading areas in the unit that you've selected just by clicking on it, and then you're going to be able to select whichever unit you want to work in within that particular reading area by just clicking on one of these unit options, and then you'll go to the activity selection screen. So this is the unit progress bar at the bottom that corresponds with that instructional branching. So when they're in the standard mode, it'll be green, in guided practice is blue, and direct instructor is yellow. So kind of watch that unit progress bar and watch as it changes colors as you get activities wrong, questions wrong and right. And then so in your experiment, you're just going to select a level. You can skip the warm-up, but it might be kind of fun to go to experience a little bit of that today. Select one of those badges and then work through one of the units. Be sure to get questions right and wrong. So that's just going to be, we're just going to do that for 5 minutes, but you have access to this to go back to it. So if you don't have your My Lexia username, email, and password, no worries.
I have it for them. So if I can just tell them right now.
Sure.
Okay.
It's going to be your email address and then a password, right?
Right. So go to mylexia.com. That's how you want the teachers to get in, right?
Yes.
You want the teachers. Okay. Everybody in? Your username is going to be what your Interact email address, and you need the whole thing, @interact.ccsd. So whatever, like mine is jlong4898@interactccsd.net. So the whole thing. And your password then is going to be your first initial and your last name, no caps, so all lowercase. That's how I've set it up for each person. So if you forget, you can just email me, and I will email you back what it is. Also, send an email out to the whole staff so they know, again, what they're, how to log into it. Now, the students log in differently. This is for teachers and staff to log in. I did not set up librarians or Miss Moore, so you won't be able to get in. But you can get in.
Yes, if you don't have a login, this will get you into the demonstration site, class@core5demo.com.
Okay.
Password success. So for anyone in the room who has not yet been entered and you want to go, please go in and use as your email address class@core5demo.com, and the password is success. And then Julie, just for the people who might be watching this, because I don't think they're, in case they couldn't hear you, I'm just going to say again that that if you have been entered into my Lexia, you're going to use your school email as your email, and then your password is the first initial and then your first initial, then your last name, all lowercase. And any problems, contact Julie. All right. So how is it going on your end?
Well, when if they signed in as class at 4-5 demo, the one you gave,
Yes.
They're getting the demo district.
Yes.
How do they go on to do the other resources?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Is everybody there? Because I'll take people from here. Perfect. So yes. So if you are, however you logged in, we're going to kind of go to the tabs on the left, and you'll see reading, resources, manage, right. And you're going to want to select the resource tab, and you will see resources for Core 5 and strategies. And so we're going to be focusing on Core 5. And then slide over to the right. The top of the second column is what you'll want to click on. Select the student program. And it will ask you again for a username and password. And so you have the option here to choose to look at it from a student perspective or from an educator perspective. So what I'd like you to do is today is just select the I'm an educator. So I want you to see that mode. And then go ahead and type in your email. So if you're coming in to the demo district, that's class@core5demo.com, and the password is success.
Yes. Right. This year we have for every student. It's unlimited license. That's why we want to have training. And just so you know, still, a lot of the teachers aren't that familiar with it because we didn't have unlimited access to it for the students. We had a small amount of students using it in other years, and so we had an aide running the computer lab most of the time. So I'm not sure how familiar the teachers are with the program and the reports. So it's kind of an initial training for some.
Okay. All right. Well, good. So, so I'm going to pop over to the student program. And I know that you all are in the same room, but please, you'll want the volume on so that you can hear the directions. So that's okay. It's going to be a little chaotic for a while, but I think, but it certainly does bring home the importance of students having headphones, and really good headphones that will give them good audio. But this is the educator mode, and this is the new menu. So you can select any of these of these levels within Lexia, and go ahead and click on one. Like I said, it will show you the everything that's involved in that level. You click that arrow and move forward. And then I would just play around for a little bit with this new warm up, so you get a sense of what that's about.
What was the login again for when they get to the Core 5 screen? Was it core5demo.com?
Class at core5demo.com.
And what was the password?
Success.
Okay. They have headphones on, so that's probably why you don't hear a lot. I have a question.
Yes.
When a student's working on, that last screen you had up right behind this one, where it has the different skills or standard skills like advanced word chains, multisyllabic words. Do they get to choose which out of the 5 they want to work on?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they can always choose which one they want to work on, and which is really important, because if they do find that they're struggling in a concept, and what'll happen is this apple on the bottom will turn red. So that's an indication to them and to you, if you're monitoring them,
Okay.
that they have struggled and that they need their teacher to help them. Because what will happen is the software will continue to try to work with them, which could be very frustrating if it's not helping. So we recommend that they then choose a different reading area at that time to work in until their teacher can get back to them on that concept.
Okay. All right. Then another question, when you were talking about how they're working and they're struggling, and then they see that the differential instruction shows up more than once, and that indicates they need more support. So then is that support from the teacher or more support on the computer program?
It would be from the teacher.
Okay. All right.
Right. So that's really something to think about, how that's going to work, with timing and who's going to provide that support and when does it happen.
Right. this is all the way up to level grade 5 now. So years ago, it was enough to grade 5. So this was the program for years.
Okay, how are you doing on your end with your experiment?
How's everybody doing? Good.
Okay, so are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what are some of your observations in working with the student program?
Oh, here you go. Here's my microphone.
It's very colorful.
Yes, yes, colorful. Mm-hmm.
I like how it reteaches them and shows them and explains if they put something in the wrong area.
Great,
If they
great.
on the wrong.
Good point. So
Just
did you branch to the guided practice and direct instruction?
Yeah. Yes.
Great.
I was in the nursery rhyme, the pre-K, and I saw that when I made a mistake out of 3 choices, it reduced it to 2.
Right.
I like that as a kindergarten teacher.
Right. So if they're struggling, right, the focus, it focuses fewer distractors. Yes. Great.
Anybody else want to comment?
Okay, I think we're ready.
Good. So a couple of things to think about operationally when you're introducing this to your students. You know, what Lexia wants obviously is for the student to complete a unit. So what I'm seeing here, what I'm showing you here is I'm at the standard level. The bar has been, moving along, so I have a sense as a student how much more I have to go. And this is a pretty straightforward lesson. I'm being asked to work on these words. I'm almost done. I only have like a couple more seconds really to go to finish this. You want to encourage the student to take that couple of seconds to finish a unit so they can get credit for that. Because if I decide right now I'm just done, I'm not going to do this last one, and I close out, then when I come back to this unit, I will start at the beginning. That's not going to be a huge thing, but because this isn't going to take a student very long to do, but just so that you know and they know that it's worth it to take that extra little time to complete this unit so that I can go on. There's usually some kind of animation that takes place as well. That's kind of a fun thing for them. This is the apple that turns red. This apple turns red when they have struggled and gone into direct instruction twice. So if that apple's red, you might want to encourage them to choose a different area to work in, or if they can notify you and you can work with them right then. That usually doesn't happen. It usually doesn't happen, but if it does, you can they can connect with you that way too. So any more questions about the student program?
Is the unit complete when that circle in the middle is filled, or do they do individual lessons?
Yes, I mean the unit is complete when this unit progress bar fills in.
Oh, okay.
All the way across. The circle in the middle is an indication of how many units within this particular reading area they've completed Those are the ones that are colored in this example, so 2 more left to do. This question mark button will allow them to rehear the directions, and this speaker button will allow them to rehear the prompt. So if there's a word that's being said within the activity, they can hear that again. In this new version of Lexia, we've reduced the number of times that we repeat the directions just automatically, and the program is designed to, based on the student experience, play those directions more often for some students versus others. And they always have the ability to rehear those directions. But I think our version 1, there was a little more redundancy in the directions than we wanted. And so we kind of pared that down a little bit. All right, so we've kind of talked about this activity selection screen and how that works, and how you had a chance to experience that unit progress area as well. So that gives you a little bit of a taste of the program, and especially some of the changes that you saw in there. Another change that we've added to Core 5 is we've provided a student dashboard that's described at the top of page 4. So it indicates the number of minutes the student has worked so far that week and their goal. So now the student can pay attention to that target as well. So those minutes start accumulating on Monday and go through Sunday. It also tells the student how many units they completed that week. So they have a real sense of where they're at and what they've accomplished as they go through the week. And that at any time they use Lexia, whether it's at home, which they can do if you want them to, there's a letter that you would send home for them to, for directions on how to access the software from home. And then those minutes obviously count as well. We've talked about the activity selection screen and the pacing, how that first half of each of those reading areas is open until they complete all of the first half, and then the second half opens up for them. For those of you who have English language learners, you can choose if you would like the students to hear the directions in their native language. You can choose from the 7 languages there on the screen, and you would do that by going into your the individual student profile and selecting that. We've also added more ELL resources, thematic flashcards, and we've embedded a picture dictionary in the passage comprehension activities. So the student can hear and see the definition of words as they're working.
What page in the book gives you the directions for that?
The picture dictionary?
No, that how you can change it to hearing it in their native language.
That is where you would do that is in the manage student area. I think, Julie, you said you wanted the teachers to be able to add students. Is that right?
Yeah, the students will be pulled into our school automatically, but to add them to their own class, like I've already set up classes, but when they get a new student, we get students who move out and move in a lot during the year. So when they have a student move in, they'll show up, in our school, but not particularly in their class. So I need them to know how to add them to their class. I've noticed that they are deleted automatically when they do withdrawal from our school, though.
Okay, great. So they don't have to delete them. So if just because we're talking about this at this moment, let's do 2 things. One is just want to demonstrate for you how you would choose a new student. It's going to be very, very straightforward. You're going to go to this Manage tab, and then, you know, I'm in the demo a demo site, so I'm going to go to classes. So you would see your class. So I'm going to go down to one of my classes here. So here's my daily first grade class. And what I want to do is I want to modify my class. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to go over to where there's at the far end of the row where there's a pencil, and that'll allow me to edit my class. And so I want to modify the students. So here are my students who are already in my class, and this is a first grade class. And so up here I can select, you know, obviously whatever grade that I want to appear. And like Julie said, you know, this is connected to your student information system, so all the first graders will appear in a list here. And so if I wanted to add Jane Jones to my class, I would just select her, click Add Selected Student. Here she is. I click Done and Save, and now Jane Jones is in my class. So it's going to be pretty, you know, pretty straightforward, pretty nice way to move around there. The other thing we were talking about was the student. It was if you wanted to add a specific language for the directions for your student, you would go to the student tab and then find your student. And I mean, I'm seeing a lot of different students. You're going to see just the students in your class. And so let's say I want to make a modification for Barb Cummings here. I would select her, and then again, grab the pencil because you're going to edit Barb. And this is her, all the information. This is, you know, basic first name and password, school and grade. The next section is demographic data. And then what you're going to want to select is the program. And under this program area is where you have reading, direction, language. So if I wanted Barb to hear the directions in Spanish, Mandarin, Haitian Creole, Vietnamese, Portuguese, or Arabic, I can select that and then save. And now Barb will hear the directions when she goes into Core 5 in Spanish.
And does it do that for every single level, or does it kind of wean them back into English at all?
No, I mean, you'd have to make the decision to unselect, you know, to move her back to English.
Okay.
Okay. All right, great question. All right, so just a little quick check for understanding. So on your part, so what level of instructional branching does the blue bar depict? So if this unit progress bar is blue, what does that tell you in terms of what step the student is at in the software?
What is it? Somebody said guided?
All right, guided practice, yes. All right, and so which button would they select to repeat the directions?
It's that microphone.
Right. The question mark button would repeat the directions, and this here button would repeat the prompt. Great. So what, if the apple is red, what does that mean?
Struggling.
Yeah, they're struggling. Yes, great. You're absolutely right. So if you see that apple turning red, you know that they are in an area where they're struggling. And so you could at that point help them, or you could suggest that they work in another area. That apple symbol also will pop up a the student's current status. So if you wanted to see where the student was at level-wise, activity, or unit, you could find out by clicking on that apple. So any other things that come to mind that you think is going to be important for your students to know as they start to use the software?
What's your question?
Where do we find the letters to print out for the parents?
Do you have
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, yes. So we were in this resource section, right? And what I'm going to have you go is to the second column again under resource materials. And let's click on that together, and we're going to see all kinds of great things. So here's the teacher manual. So if you wanted to look at the teacher manual, there's a teacher manual. I talked about how there was ELL support, vocabulary cards, phonics support. So those instructional resources are available. The reading passages for comprehension and fluency, you'll find those here. We're getting there. And if you slide down to school to home, that's where you'll find the letter. And so you'll click on that, and you can modify this, but they need, it kind of walks them through what they need to do to connect at home. They need your email address for that initial setup, and then obviously their My Lexia username and password. Bless you.
If two teachers add the same student, would we both have access to view how they're progressing?
Yes, that is a really great question. So in this Manage tab, you can set up classes and group the students in any way that makes sense for you, because it's all really about organizing those groups so that you can easily access the data that you need. So yes, so a student could be, in a first grade class, and then could also maybe, if you have a reading specialist that works with students from multiple grades, could that reading specialist or somebody could set up a class with a group of students that they're working with.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit to talk about the Lexia lessons and the Lexia skill builders. And let me ask you, last year in your implementation, who worked with the students when they were struggling with Lexia lessons?
We didn't actually use teacher, like on the computer, you mean, or teacher lesson, like
the teacher-directed lessons.
We didn't have teacher-directed lessons. We had the kids just on the computer.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about this element, because Lexia has like 5 keys to implementing Lexia with fidelity, and certainly one of them is getting them the minutes to work in the software. And the second one is for you to access My Lexia at least once a week so that you can determine who's struggling, because the third key is to work with them individually when they are struggling. Because if we don't do that, they will just be in this endless loop in the software. And if by some chance they end up figuring it out on their own, that's going to take a lot longer, and it's going to put the student through much more frustrating situation, and maybe they won't even be able to do that. And so they're going to need that intervention with you to help them when they are stuck. And that's when those Lexia lessons come in, and you can find them on page 8, the description of Lexia lessons and skill builders, because they're 2 different resources that you're going to want to use in 2 different ways. The lessons they're scripted lessons that are available to use when a student is struggling. And then the skill builders are paper and pencil activities that students can work on their own or in small groups to help build automaticity. So the lessons they work with you, the skill builders, they can work on their own once they've mastered a concept. So the lesson is like I said, a scripted lesson. It follows that gradual release of responsibility, starting with direct instruction, guided practice, and independent application. All of them have additional resources for the student to use that connect with the lesson. And so it doesn't mean that you have to use the lesson as it is, because you may, when you intervene with the student, be able to tell exactly what they need, and you don't need to go through the entire lesson. But it is a great resource for you, to use should you like to do that, or should you want to do it. So let's look at the lesson library together, because that is also been enhanced for you. So if you go back to this resource tab and you go to the lesson library, which is Lexia Lessons, which is this link at the top of the first column, and click on that, you will find 161 Lexia lessons that you can sort by grade level. You can sort by program within Lexia 1 through 18, and you can sort by skill area. So you have lots of flexibility here. If I wanted to find a Lexia lesson in level 4, let's say on phonics, I can now I've just kind of used the filters to find all the level 4 phonics lessons. So here they are listed. I have the ability to group them together by just selecting the ones I want, and then say, I can open the lesson, I can open just the script, or I can open just the reproducible. So if I say, oh, I can read the script online, I want to open just the elements that I'm going to copy for the student to work with when I'm working with them. Here they are. Here are just the reproducibles for this short vowel A phonics lesson. And here, more short vowel A. Here are the short vowel I reproducibles. And these match the script that are in the lesson. You can download them and you can print them. So that's kind of a nice thing. So that's how you access the resources, the Lexia Lesson Library. The Skill Builder Library is right underneath it. And the nice thing about the Skill Builder Library this year is that we have added answer keys, because these are, remember I said they're paper and pencil activities as the student works on their own. But let's go to level 1. And so these are all the skill builders that are available in level 1. And let's say I wanted my student to work on all of them. And I had the luxury of having somebody help me, so I can open the answer keys. And now I can give those answer keys to somebody who might provide feedback for the student on how well they did when they were working on that particular skill builder. So that's a new thing that we've added that may be of benefit to you as well. So you can download and print those resources. So we talked about the Lexia lessons, the skill builders, and the third library is also something new that we've added. That is what you'll find in the Instructional Connections library are some more reading resources that we've added because we've had requests from schools that wanted some classroom ideas on working with these different reading concepts. So here you have the Instructional Connections reading library. So lots of resources to use in a number of different ways.
Is that where the vocabulary support is then, in the connections? I see on page 9.
Oh, the vocabulary support materials, that was what we were talking about when we were in the resource materials area.
Okay.
That would be right here. Vocabulary support, the flashcards and the focus on word meanings.
Okay.
In that instructional support section of that resource area.
Is that like?
All right. So, excuse me?
Is that leveled as well, or is that just one set of vocabulary cards?
You have to go to your material.
There's themes for them. The vocabulary flashcards are by different category.
Okay.
And then a focus on word meanings. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about those key resources, the Lexia lessons and the skill builders. I want to be sure that you walk away knowing the answer to this question. So which of these do you use when a student is struggling?
The lessons. Both?
Right. Well, actually, the Lexia lessons is what you'd use when a student is struggling. And the skill builders are you're going to use those for support to help students to continue to build automaticity and expressive skills. Okay, what you have with Lexia is a program that's not only research based, but it's research proven. You know, you have a program that if you use it with fidelity, like we were talking about, the number of minutes, you using the lessons with the students, you're going to find that they're going to make amazing gains. And so just to review those keys to implementing with fidelity, helping them get their target minutes each week. You know, you checking My Lexia at least weekly to see who's struggling. Intervene with struggling students using Lexia lessons, important key, and reinforcing that online learning with skill builders, and then celebrating success with the achievement certificates. So let's, we've been talking about, you know, the fact that you're going to be notified when a student is struggling and where does that happen. Let's go back to your, I'm going to go to the demonstration site, because I want you to see what data is going to look like when you actually have student data, because we don't have data yet with your students. So I'm going to go back to class@core5demo.com and the password success, because that's going to let me look at some demonstration data. And so some of you are in that demo district. I'm going to choose the first grade class. And, you know, I said that the students are going to appear in your My Lexia site if they're struggling. And they're going to appear right here under this plan instruction list. So if you look at my screen here, how many students are struggling?
5. This is 5.
5. Yep, so it tells you right at the top, 5 students are struggling in 4 skills, and then they're listed below. And they're listed by, it'll tell you the level in Lexia that they're in, the area that they're struggling with. Here's their name. So here's Benedict. He's struggling in spatial concepts. And here's the Lexia lesson. So you don't have to go back to the library. You can just click on this Lexia lesson. It'll open up, and then you'll be able to review it and see, you know, if there are some ideas that can help you when you're working with Benedict. If you have students who are struggling on the same skill, like down here, we have Bridget and Lonnie who are struggling with categorizing words, you can work with them together. So now you know they're both struggling on the same thing. You can work with them together on categorizing words. But the students are going to stay on this list until they go back into the software and they can demonstrate mastery of that concept that they were struggling on.
So they won't move forward at all out of that level until they've mastered it, right?
Right. So if I'm struggling in multi-syllable words, then I am going to be stuck here. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't move forward in simple suffixes or sight words or building sentences, but I'm going to be stuck. I'm not going to be able to, and eventually that's going to prevent me from moving to the next level, right? Because the first half does not, they have to complete all of the units in the first half before they can go to the second half. So if I'm stuck here, I'm not going to be able to go into, eventually I'm not going to be able to go on.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead.
There's a question here or comment.
Mm-hmm.
So when they take their placement test, it will show you when you pull up your report where they're currently struggling. So then that way we'll be able to see it on this screen that you're showing us. Is that correct? So
well, when they take their placement, right, exactly. When they are struggling, they will show up in this list right here. When they take their placement test, they'll be placed in a particular level to begin working.
What do the different icons mean next to their names? Like some of them are red, green, and there was some yellow under the kinders.
Right. That's a great question. These colors correspond to this this pie chart over here, performance predictors. So what Lexia does at the beginning of every month, we'll look at the students' previous performance and we'll assign them a predictor or a probability that they will meet the end of the year benchmark. So right now in this first grade class, 41% of them are at high risk. So they have a 1 in 30% chance, if they continue working the way they are, at getting to the end of first grade. 35% of them are on target and 24% are at some risk. So it's just a way to try to kind of alert you to kind of where they're at in this probability. So you have Wilton here, who is on target, but he's found his way into synonyms and antonyms and he's struggling. And so you might say, I need to get to Benedict first. And, if you're trying to prioritize your time, or you might know that, okay, I can work with Wilton. It's not going to take me very long. And then I'm going to work with Benedict because that's going to take a little bit longer. So it helps you kind of prioritize your time.
Okay.
Now, when you scroll down to the bottom of this page, what I'm going to find is the next thing that's going to be important for you to monitor, and that is this prescription of intensity. So this is where the target number of minutes and the actual number of minutes is going to appear. So as the students are working in the software, their minutes will begin to accumulate in this actual column under this week. So starting on Monday and going through Sunday, anytime they work in the software, those minutes will add up here. And then in the column to the right of the actual is the target. Now you see on this screen that the target is different, right? 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes in my example here of this first grade class. When your students first start working in Lexia, their target will be the same for that first month. And then you'll see at the beginning of every month that target will change, and especially it'll change after the first month, so that you can you'll see a different target because the software needs a little time to get a sense of the student's rate and accuracy, as well as how far they need to go to get to their end of the year benchmark. But that column to the right of target, the add column, gives you how many minutes they need to meet their target. So you can easily sort on that add column, and you can kind of group then all of those students who need minutes. And now you know, can I help Mike Allman and Weta and Lonnie and Bridget and Benedict and Kathleen get the minutes they need so that they can reach their target? So when you first start using Lexia, you're going to want to pay attention, obviously, to the students who are in need of your help, and you're going to want to pay attention to their minutes. Because this is why it is really important to kind of think about these keys to implementing with fidelity, because with research that we've done and research that other organizations have done with Lexia data. Here's an example of research we did, where we took a cross section of students in 2013-14 across the United States, and we said, okay, let's show what happens when students use Lexia with fidelity for at least 4 months. This is where they started in September, and then this is where they ended in June. So this is just 4 months out of the year that this group of students used Lexia with fidelity, which means they met their target minutes, they had the Lexia lessons, and we were particularly interested in this high-risk group, that when we use Lexia with fidelity, what kind of gains would even that high-risk group make? And we saw 32% of them gained 3 years, and 43% 2 years, and 23% 1 year. So when we can get the students the minutes and the support that they need, they can really make up those reading deficiencies that they have. So that's what's exciting, I think, about Lexia. And the challenge is to try to figure out, with all the other things that you have going on, how to get your head around this, resource and how it fits with, your schedule and, your the resources at your school. So what kind of other questions do you have?
What happens when a child finishes Core 5 at the 5th grade level?
Right. And what you might want to consider, you might want to look at, have you used the skill builders? Skill builders would be something you'd want to use all along, but let me just show you, I'm going to dive you a little bit deeper here into the data, because you can go into data on individual students. So let's look at Mike Ailman here. This is his individual student report, and in this action plan area under independent practice, these are the skill builders that he's eligible for. So if we wanted Mike to, these are areas he's already mastered. And so if we want him to work a little bit deeper on those skill areas, you could print those out and assign them for him to work on. If you wanted to see how well Mike did when he was working in the software, there's a skills report. And that will tell you, a nice review of where he started, where he auto-placed through, when he started level 6, where he's at now. And then if you wanted to look at his rate and accuracy for all of his current unit, as well as any other unit that he completed, and Mike has only completed level 6, this will tell you his rate and his accuracy. So if you look at categorizing words 1, his accuracy was low. Okay, he did complete categorizing words, but it took him his accuracy was on the low end, and so that might be definitely an area that you'd want him to continue to practice. So you can really kind of differentiate what you have the students do based on this information. But going back to another way to answer your question is when they're done with Core 5, then they have demonstrated that they have those basic reading skills. And so you're going to want to challenge their, continue to have them challenge their reading, apply those reading skills in different ways.
Access to all of our grade level results. Did you hear that question?
No.
With a teacher access or login, do we have access to all the kindergarten students' results? That would depend on how you set up the classes. So if you have multiple kindergartens, right? And so you could set them up so that, I know you do because I was just looking at it. So you could set them up so each individual teacher has their own class. You could also set up a class that had all the kindergartners together. So if you wanted to look at all of the kindergartners within your school, you could do it. You could group them that way, and then you'd see how they're doing as a large group as well. And that would be a really cool thing to do, especially like grade level meetings, looking at your whole grade. What does it tell us? How are we doing? All those kinds of things. Who are our most struggling readers? How do we support them?
Yeah, I can set that up for them. We can discuss the grade levels. And then we also have like an intervention time that the kids go to different teachers. So they might want to see their group and how to plan for their group a little bit more. So yeah, that's a good idea. Do you guys want to see anything else about reports? Understand reports, or just have to kind of dive in there? Okay. Any other questions, anybody? Okay. We don't have any questions on this end.
Okay, well, great. Well, it was wonderful to be with you. I mean, I don't know. I don't recall if you have. You're working with Kelly, so if she's planning to have an on-site opportunity to work with you with. Because one of the things that we would like to do is after your students have been working for 2 months is to come back together and really look at the data and go deeper into the reports. So if in these next 2 months you really work on getting the students the minutes, working with them on the lessons, diving into the reports, as in that regard, and then in 2 months kind of look at that broadly, look at that information, and then go deeper into the reports is a really good strategy to consider.
Okay, I'll touch base with her again then.
All right, great, wonderful.
All right, well, thank you very much for the webinar training. Worked out great.
You're welcome. Oh, good. And I'm sorry about the technical glitches in the beginning. I appreciate your willingness to hang in there with me, and we found a way to connect, so yay.
Yes, so it works. All right. All right, thanks very much. And if we do have more questions, then I should direct them to Kelly, correct? If I can't answer.
Yes, Kelly.
Kelly would be good, or use your, anytime, if you can't connect with Kelly and you need something, don't hesitate to contact Lexia's technical support, because they're very good as well. So
Oh.
those are two great resources for you.
Okay, great. Very good. Thank you again, Beth. Enjoyed it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.